Okay, so if a company is showing relatively stable demand for its services, though through natural fluctuations in the overall economy, the overall economy is going up, expansion हो रहा है या फिर overall economy is coming down, recession हो रहा है. Despite overall economy having an expansion, demand is not drastically going up. Despite economy having a contraction or a recession, the demand is not going down, which means that the company is having a stable demand because company is making a necessity product, a product which is not consumed as a choice, but it is necessity. For example, let's say, let's say toothpaste. Whether it is expansion, I have more income. I'm not gonna be brush my teeth like a lot of time. I'm just gonna brush my teeth twice. Whether it is recession, I'll not cut down on spending on brushing of my teeth. So because it is a necessity, the demand for a toothpaste, demand for a notebook, demand for a soap, demand for sugar, demand for tea powder is going to be stable. So stable ka matlab hai, it's a case of defensive company. If the demand would have been heavily dependent on the phase of the economy, like car wala case, Tata Motors wala case, during expansion, demand drastically goes up. For the cars, the demand is heavily dependent on the economy. If economy crashes, the demand for a car also crashes. That's a case of cyclical company. Growth company is a company जिसका growth rate is always high. Whether it is expansion or recession, दोनों केस में if the company is having a very high growth rate, which is generally the case in the case of startup companies. Startup companies ka initial phase mein the growth rate is very, very high. Be it expansion, the growth rate is higher. Be it recession, also the growth rate is higher. So for a growth company, it's like a high growth company, whether it is expansion, recession won't matter. The growth rate will always be higher, not dependent on the overall economy. So that is growth company. If the demand is stable, irrespective of which phase of economy you are in, if the demand is stable, that's a case of a defensive company, also called as non-cyclical company. And the demand is heavily dependent on the phase of the business cycle. During expansion, drastically goes up. During recession, drastically crashes. That's cyclical company. So stable demand means either defensive or non-cyclical company. Again, मेरे ख्याल से it was an easy question. Straightforward, no kind of thing. बस growth company क्या है ये you got a take away of this. ये chapter में mention है growth company क्या है. But it was not emphasized so much in the lecture nor in the chapter. The growth company is basically a company whose growth rate is always high because right now it's maybe in the startup phase, so its growth rate is very high. It is not much dependent on the phase of the economy, be it expansion or be it recession. दोनों phase में the growth rate is very, very high. So answer of this is A. Any doubt? कुछ doubt होगा तो raise hand so that I can clarify your doubts. If anyone has any doubts, raise hand in this question or the previous question. अगर कुछ doubts होगा तो raise hand. Clear, right? मेरे ख्याल से straightforward था ये question. All right.